Hello friends, I'm George, the nice manic gentleman. Welcome back to my channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. Today's video is going to be about two clones of Parfum de Marly scents. Well, to be more exact, technically, to be correct, one of them is a straight up clone, the other one is more like an inspired type of fragrance. The clone comes from the house of Ajmal and it's called Ajmal Zest. This fragrance is a clone of Parfum de Marly's Haltane. And inspired by fragrance, what's interesting about this one is that it comes from a designer brand. The brand is called Lalique and the fragrance is called White in Black. This one is inspired by fragrance by Parfum de Marly's Layton. Let's start with the Ajmal fragrance. The fragrance comes packaged in this pretty simplistic and small in size box. On the front you got the name of the fragrance, the name of the company, the bottle size 100 milliliters, the EDP, you got some branding on the top. On the back there's some additional information and on the bottom there's a production date which reads August of 2023. And once you open up the box, this is how the bottle looks. In fact, this bottle shape has been regularly used by Ajmal with quite a lot of their fragrances. It has a pretty nice heft to it. The cap is plastic, but it's it's a very snug fit. It's a pretty simplistic packaging, unlike what most of the time you get with Middle Eastern fragrances. The note breakdown of Ajmal's Ajmal Zest has the following notes. The top notes are clary sage, lavender and bergamot. The middle notes are saffron and praline, and the base notes are agar oud and cedar. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is the exact same note breakdown as what is listed for the original fragrance from Parfum de Marly's, Haltane. And also, I don't think that this note breakdown is actually very sort of accurate, and I'll tell you why in a minute. The sprayer of Ajmal Zest from Ajmal is actually pretty nice. It has a pretty nice wide distribution. And onto the actual scent of Ajmal Zest. This fragrance opens up quite fresh. The bergamot note in this fragrance is quite strong in the opening. It also opens up quite spicy and quite green. And that aspect of the fragrance I don't really like, to be honest. The bergamot is there, as I said. The clary sage is definitely there, giving this a sort of quite a strong green feel. The saffron is also there right from the get-go, giving this quite a lot of spiciness. And also I pick up a note that's not listed, and that's a sort of a peppery note, something like a black pepper, in my opinion at least. It's quite spicy, quite a bit sharp, green and slightly fresh in the opening. When this goes into the dry down becomes a lot more warmer. There's a touch of oud in here, although it's not animalic or skanky or anything like that. It's quite a soft type of oud that Ajmal have used. Becomes a bit oudy as well, maybe down to the cedar oud that it's been used in this fragrance. And also I pick up quite a lot of sweetness from, not a lot, but enough sweetness from an amber note. Also, I pick up a touch of leather, which again is not listed as a note breakdown. And all in all, the dry down is quite warm, woody, and slightly sweet. Probably the dry down is a little bit more enjoyable for me, but this thing opens up just too green and too spicy for my taste. When it comes to how close this fragrance is to the original scent, it's actually surprisingly well done. It feels a little bit more spicy, maybe because of that peppery note that I pick up out of this fragrance, but the dry down is pretty similar, and actually Ajmal have done a pretty good job at copying the original scent of Haltane from Parfums de Marly. When it comes to performance, Ajmal Zest didn't really impress me that much. It's not a bad performing fragrance, but to be honest, I expected a little bit better performance. I've had this for quite a while now, so it had enough time to macerate, and the problem is not that. Probably it's just down to, the fact that this is not a sort of a very strong performing fragrance. I get about 7.5 hours of performance with about 1.5 hours of moderate to maybe slightly strong projection. Price wise, I paid about 26-27 euros here in Europe, which will translate into a little bit over $30. I got it off Nutino and they regularly have it in stock, so that's the place to buy it in Europe. When it comes to versatility, this is definitely a cold weather scent, and in my opinion it definitely leans heavily to the masculine side, and it's more like a dressed up type of scent, and I would say it's more of an evening type of scent. So it's not super versatile, but again, that's just down to the scent profile. And now let's move on to the second fragrance featured in this video, the White in Black from Lalique. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find the packaging, the box of this fragrance. I've stashed it somewhere, I couldn't find it, but it's again a pretty simplistic looking bottle. That's a box that's predominantly come in black color. The interesting thing about the packaging and the presentation of this fragrance is that you get a wooden pencil included in the packaging for some reason. Now, I have a theory about why that's the case, but I'll tell you that a little bit later. And then this is how the bottle looks, again predominantly black with some silver and white accents. The bottle has a sort of a flask type of shape and look, in my opinion. The cap is plastic, feels quite cheap, but it's a snug fit. So all in all, the packaging is nothing spectacular. The concentration of this fragrance is EDP and the bottle size is 125 milliliters. The note breakdown of Lalique's White in Black has the following notes. The top notes are olibanum, Sicilian bergamot and grapefruit. The middle notes are cardamom, lavender, elemi and pink pepper, and the base notes are vanilla, white cedar, ambroxan, tolu balsam and patchouli. I'll show the sprayer in action. Again, a decent sprayer. And now let's talk about the scent of Lalique's White in Black. As I said in the beginning of this video, this fragrance is heavily inspired by Parfum de Layton. Now, if you are familiar with the way that Layton smells, you immediately pick up what Lalique White in Black is trying to be or is copying. You're immediately hit by this sort of a sweet, vanillic, slightly fruity opening that has a bit of spices and a bit of woods right from the get-go. And in fact, this is one property of this fragrance that's really interesting. And as I said, when I was talking about the packaging and the presentation, you get a wooden pencil included in the packaging of this fragrance. And my theory is that's the case because this fragrance has a very woody, feel to it, smell to it, and in fact, to my nose, Lalique, this fragrance from Lalique smells really a lot like the type of smell that you get out of a wooden pencil. The dry down, the opening, there's a bit of spiciness, a bit of freshness in the opening, but none of the spicy or the fresh notes or the fruity, citrusy notes actually are very strong. For me, the strong notes in the opening are the woody notes and the sweet vanilla note. On the dry down, some of the spiciness, and all of the freshness completely goes away, and the dry down is a mix of those cedar woods, the different types of woods, the ambroxan and the vanilla, with also a slight powdery feel to this fragrance. Probably there's a bit of tonka bean included in here that's not listed as a note breakdown. When it comes to how close it is, as I said, it's more like an inspired type scent. It's not a direct clone. It doesn't feel as deep, as rich and as warm as you get with Layton. It also doesn't feel as spicy and as sweet. It feels like a woodier, more dry, woodier version of Layton, but it's definitely, somewhat close to the original fragrance. When it comes to performance, unfortunately, as I said, this is supposedly an EDP concentration fragrance, but it behaves more like an EDT because the total performance that I am getting out of this one is about 7 hours of performance with the soft projection in the first about 1 hour. To be honest, I was expecting a little bit better performance. Unfortunately, I cannot quote a official price for this fragrance because, as I said, at the moment it's very hard to find and might be discontinued. When it comes to versatility, this is a little bit more versatile compared to the original Layton. And so on to my final thoughts about the two fragrances featured in this video, Amber Zest from Ajmal and Lalique's White in Black. When it comes to Amber Zest from Ajmal, this is actually a very, very decent clone of Parfum de Haltane. You know, at least as far as I know, there aren't that many Haltane clones, so you don't have too many choices. And to be honest, I've never been the biggest fan of the original fragrance, and I'm not the biggest fan of Ajmal Zest-a, but I cannot deny the fact that Ajmal have actually done a pretty good job at copying the original fragrance. This thing costs a fraction of the price of the original scent, has decent performance, you know, comes nicely packaged. Oh, you know, it's a very decent alternative for you know, Haltane from Parfums de Marly. So if you're looking for such a thing, then definitely check out Ajmal Zest. Just don't blind buy this one, because in my opinion it's not safe for that. Try to sample it first. When it comes to the other fragrance featured in this video, Lalique White in Black, this is a very interesting take, sort of an inspired by fragrance by Parfums de Marly Layton. It feels like a less richer, less warm version of you know, of Layton. It feels less spicy, less sweet, like a more woody, more powdery version of Layton. It's an interesting take on the Layton DNA, and oh, you know, if you are a big fan of Layton, then you can check this one out, although I think there are better options out there. And so guys, in today's video I showed you two interesting scents. The first one from the house of Ajmal called Ajmal Zest, a very decent clone of Parfums de Marly's Haltane, and the other one was Lalique White in Black, a very interesting take on the Layton DNA. I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.